Middlesex. Same address as on the welcome packet, on the brochure, on the welcome letter from his housemaster, and it looked like a fucking time warp. First, there was the name, The Lot. It bore the funk of English eccentricity. Andrew already felt allergic to it. Back at Frederick Williams Academy, in Connecticut, the houses were named after donors. Andrew had been 2 years in Davidson, 2 in Griswold, and his senior year, the most decadent by far, in a large double room, perfumed by bong water and unwashed clothes, in Knowle House. But the Lot rose before him now. A shambling Victorian mansion, ascending 4 stories to an old-fashioned, cross-gabled roof. It was constructed of mouldering red brick, with triangular nooks and attic rooms pointing upward, arrow-like, in various spots, while over the door, and elsewhere wherever a lintel presented a broad hunk of brick, there were carvings on agricultural themes. Hay and scythes, sunshine and tilling. Moss, soot, and old grit competed for residence in the thin lines of mortar. A low wall of the same red brick encircled the place. Between the wall and the house lay a driveway of beige gravel like a pebbly moat. The arms of the wall met in a gate, 2 square brick posterns topped by cast-iron lanterns. Andrew felt his heart sink. This place was dank, cramped, old. The year he would stay here suddenly seemed wearingly long. I don't want to hear a word of complaint out of you. I moved mountains to get you in there. Andrew's father's voice entered his head unbidden, as it had a tendency to do. Fierce, southern-accented, accusatory. When Andrew was younger, he used to hear it in the shower, arising from the babble of the water pounding the bathtub. He would stop the shower, get out, dripping, and stand in the doorway calling, "Yes? Yes, Daddy?" when it had been nothing, just the guilt. The internal clock telling him it had been several hours since he heard the hammer and tongs of that voice. And Andrew had heard the voice plenty this past summer. I sold the last of Grandfather's shares for this. Sold them for pennies, in this market, to get your sorry ass out of trouble. What a waste, his father had ranted. What a failure for us all. Ah, me, he would groan. I never thought I would see this happen. Never. That was the speech designed to stamp out any complaints about the school. Harrow School. The brochure had made it look like a miniseries on PBS. Scrubbed British schoolboys in jackets and ties and odd, tidy straw hats, which his father informed him with some relish were the tradition of the school. Choir boys. Andrew knew the school was prestigious. He knew he was lucky, sort of. But he couldn't forget that he wasn't here because he wanted to be here. Not even because he deserved to be. Far from it. It was to get him out of sight, quickly. Off across the Atlantic, to some cross between reform school and finishing school. So that his college applications would have a new listing at the top. So he would have a new set of teachers and administrators to write recs. So the last 5 years at Frederick Williams Academy would be just a footnote. I went to the prestigious Harrow School and, oh yes, the equally prestigious Frederick Williams Academy. But the less said about that, the better. Maybe with college applications bragging international experience, the gap between his 90th percentile SATs and his C grades would stand out less. Maybe phrases like, doesn't apply himself, tests well but lazy, and most recently the packed euphemism, discipline issues, would seem less prominent. Despite the urgent circumstances, the welcome packet for Harrow School had impressed his father. There was the school crest, a prancing lion, heraldic symbols, a Latin motto. Bragging rights. 7 prime ministers had attended the school, including Winston Churchill. Andrew's father had puffed with pride. The Taylors, in his view, were aristocrats. There had been the family plantations in Louisiana. There had been the great-great-uncle, the Civil War admiral, with a battleship named for him. Every few years they got hats.